Welcome back, everybody. My name is Max Tim. This is Max Reacts. Thank you for being here. This is fun. This is my second video, and I am switching over to TV. We did a movie last time for the Adam Project, but this time we're going to do something a little different, a little bit more risque, so-called. But we're going to talk about Minx, the HBO Max show that I've completely fallen in love with for multiple reasons. I'm going to go into all of the reasons. Okay, maybe not all the reasons, because I don't think we have that much time. But just to give you a little bit about what Minx is, if you haven't watched it yet, and I highly suggest that you should, even though I always say that this isn't an editorial review type of reaction video, but I'm going to tell you that you should probably be watching this show. Set in the 1970s, it's about a feminist teaming up with a pornographic magazine publisher in order to publish the first male erotic magazine. That's the very general premise. It's about so much more than that. The reason it's about so much more than just that is because of the characters involved. And I'm going to get into some fun parts there. But my initial surface level reaction, a whole lot of dicks. Just going to put it out there. There's a whole lot of male nudity. Hey, it is what it is. It's also part of the premise. You know, you're getting into that world. At the same time, you know, me being a straight male, I found myself like a little uncomfortable seeing as much frontal male nudity as there is. However, it really made me feel like, you know what, I'm pretty sure this is how women feel. Pretty sure this is how women feel on a regular basis. I shouldn't even be laughing at that because it's the truth. The amount of female nudity that is in our media in general, it's become normal. And I shouldn't say oddly enough, but in Minx, it becomes pretty normal in terms of how often, you know, we see nude men in the show. It opened my mind, and I'm at least, I think anyway, aware enough to be able to notice, you know what, swinging the pendulum here, it might not be a terrible idea. The show is so not about just shock value. There are so many things that they're saying with this show, mainly just about how timely this gender equality issue is today as it was in the 70s. And so they're bringing that to light in a very, very big way, but in a really fun way because of the situation, because of the character who's involved in the situation. And for those of you who are going to be continuing to watch these videos, you're going to hear me say that all the time, because if you're a writer, you need to fully understand that and grasp that concept of situation meets character, character meets situation. They each evolve each other. And this show does an amazing job, and it's really pretty incredible how much they shove and smush into a half-hour episode of TV. It's incredible. It's incredibly bingeable. I loved every second of it. So just to touch on the cast a little bit, I've always been a huge fan of Jake Johnson. He plays the magazine publisher, and he was Nick in New Girl. Everything he's in, I just think he's awesome. He's always funny. Well, Ophelia Lovibond plays Joyce, the main character, and every scene she's in, it is just so much fun. I loved every second of it. I watched an interview of her saying that the one character she wished she could have played is Annie Hall, and I was like, yeah, nailed it. I feel like you could probably have done a better job at playing Annie Hall than Diane Keaton. I mean, that was my initial reaction. Some people might be like, whoa, and even if Ophelia actually happened to watch this, she would probably disagree. But that's how good she is, and it just made every scene that much more enjoyable because, again, as from a writing standpoint, coming at a premise and a concept with character first, you know, not necessarily just presenting plot, and here's what happens from a plot beat to a plot beat. It's what happens to and with the character, how that character reacts, and the reactions from the character within the situation. Just watch what Ophelia Lovibond does with Joyce's character, and she nails it. She just totally nails it. That's what I think the writers got so right about this show. They focused on the character living within the premise and how the premise is then evolved because of the character within it. I know that when you say it out loud, you're like, well, duh. But when you're trying to develop a show, it's too easy. More often than not, writers end up going to plot development. What happens? As opposed to the why. And the why is directly related to the character involved. And Joyce's character is so well developed, you get to know who she is immediately. There's no question, like, what does she want? What does she wish for? What does she desire? Why can't she have it? All of these things are seen immediately. And we just understand who she is. And we root for her because we see her being herself while she's attempting to achieve a goal. And for a half-hour comedy, that's so key to be able to do those things at the same time, as opposed to like a movie where you can kind of separate those scenes. You can have a plot scene, you can have a character scene, you have another plot scene, and you don't have to necessarily have both happening at the same time. Half-hour comedies, obviously you've got, what, maybe 30 pages to be able to deliver all of this information, coming at it from a character point of view and a character standpoint, so that the audience is like, okay, I understand who this person is. I either like that person or I don't like that person. I'm going to root for this person or I'm going to love to hate this person. They're going to be participating in all of that. And it's exactly what happens with Minx. And it happens so quickly so that, and this is key, looking straight into the camera like this is really important, but it is for those writers out there. Any new situation, we put the character in. Whether it's later in the pilot episode or it's in a future episode altogether, we don't have to guess as to how Joyce is going to react to seeing a naked man or to being presented with this wild porn magazine office that she has to go in and out of because it's her work on a regular basis. We know she's going to be reacting a certain way. What's fun is that this type of half-hour comedy isn't a straight sitcom. It's not just a situational comedy like a Friends or a Big Bang Theory or Gracie and Frankie. It's an evolving situation, and therefore the character evolves a little bit too. Joyce doesn't completely change. It's not like she's a completely different person by the end. Oddly enough, she becomes more of who she wanted to be by the end of the season, which is very rewarding. Jake Johnson's character sees that happen, even though he kind of tries to fight against it because he's, in a way, representative of the men of the time in some ways. He's a much lighter version, and he evolves and changes too, which is so much fun to see because he's learning about feminism, and he's learning about feminism in order to make money. And it's very obvious and clear that that's his intent. But by the end of the season, we see that, you know what, maybe he's changed a little bit. And I think there's an emphasis on maybe there because, well, anyway, you need to watch the whole season to be able to see where they go. It's just a fantastic show, everybody. I'm going to take a little bit of a different approach here with this video, and I'm going to go take a drive, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about it. So why don't you join me? By the way, if you wanted to comment, I'm going to leave a little video with the scene that shows this line being spoken, just because it's one of my favorite scenes ever in any comedy, and because we're talking about Minx, and because it's such a great comedy, and I feel like Joyce would have been a perfect actor in this movie. Go ahead and comment in the comment section if you know what this quote is from. All right, let's get to it. Let's go take a drive. This is Bozo. Yes, I named him after a clown for multiple reasons, but also mainly because it was the first name that came into my head. This is first name that came into my head, Pam. Yep. It's my Porsche 944, needs a lot of work. She's 84, Porsche 1984, whatever it is, 944. I just got it, so I'm still working on it. Anyway, we're going to jump into Bozo here, and we're going to take a drive. All right, here we go. So, yeah, this is Bozo, and yes, like I said, I named him after a clown. He kind of looks like one if you look at it at the front of the car, but there's also an odd tie to this little town that I'm in, being at one time called the circus capital of the country. I'm serious. We're going to take a drive. I'm going to do this every now and then, and we're just going to go take a drive and talk about stuff, you know? But let me back out so I don't kill anybody or myself. All right, so yeah, first time I'm doing this in terms of take a drive with Max and as he reacts. That was, I don't know, I don't think I'm going to call it that. But like I said, so we're going to take a drive every now and then. But going back to Minx, I just loved it so much, and there are obvious reasons for just the general viewer and audience. The costumes are incredible, the period-specific sets, and even the lighting and photography. It's just all amazing. The Dick Cavett Show episode, by the way, if you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about, but they do a full interview and recreate the Dick Cavett set from the 70s. There's this big talk show, if you don't know who that is, and Joyce goes on, and there's all this drama, but it was incredible. But so there are all these, you know, kind of surface level reasons to love the show, which are totally worthwhile. But what it does is it situates you as the viewer into a place to go, okay, I'm in this world, I get it, I'm just accepting it now. You know, I stop reacting or responding to the costumes, which are amazing, like I said, and then I'm just I'm focusing on the character. Like, the show isn't about the costumes and the sets and, hey, look at this period piece that we're making. It's about Joyce, and it's about freedom of expression, and it's about trying to become who you know you can become and want to become, and then the struggles that you have while you're attempting to do that and to be that person. And so you start looking a little bit deeper into why am I watching this show just as an audience member? And the best shows do that, where you're not noticing male penises all the time. I mean, it's true. After a while, you're like, okay. I mean, there is one episode near the end of the season where you're like, all right, wow, front and center, stand up tall, quite literally. But you know, it's a part of the world, and it makes it that much more situationally difficult, right? I mean, there's that much more of an uncomfortable feeling because the character, our main character, is feeling uncomfortable. But from a situational standpoint, it's not just the one thing that's happening in the scene, it's everything connected. And from a TV writing standpoint, it's difficult to get all of that in your head. I work with writers one-on-one all the time. Bozo's kind of bouncy, by the way. I like the alliteration. But I work with them all the time, and the hardest part is trying to see the whole series as a whole as quickly as possible. And you know, it takes a lot of time. It's why there are rooms filled with writers, with one showrunner or two showrunners or multiple, managing it all. You know, everybody is trying to keep a piece of this show in their heads and putting it all together, because it's difficult to create an entire series on your own as a writer. And what I mean by entire series is not just all of the episodes, but all of the elements involved. But I think the best advice I can give you, let's just drive around this cute little park that I have in my teeny tiny American Midwestern town. I don't know if you're gonna be able to see it, but oddly enough, there's a little connection here as far as what I'm going to talk about and why it's so important for a writer to fully understand the premise, I don't know about premise, but the importance of relationships in a story. Inherently and innately, just we as people understand the importance of relationships. I mean, duh. Going through this life alone is not easy, and sadly a lot of people have to do that. But you become more of who you know you can become, or you discover versions of yourself that you didn't know you had in you because of the relationships involved. And that's just, I'm speaking from like basic personal life experience, and I think you have all had those experiences too. But from a story standpoint, a story truly doesn't become an evolving journey for someone without the relationships involved. And if you look at any TV series, much less Minx, I think Minx is such a perfect example because they squeeze all of this into a really short amount of time. It's just amazing how much they do with that amount of time. But all of the characters have relationships with each other, and they're learning things from the other character about who they are, and vice versa. And Joyce becomes more of who she was at the beginning of the episode. Like I said earlier, she doesn't become someone completely new, but she does become who she wanted to become. It's just a different version that she didn't expect. And if there's any way to summarize how to look at a story, it's by saying basically that. The character becomes someone they didn't expect to become, either quickly or over a very long period of time. And really that's just the difference between TV and features. You know, time is weird and relative because we watch a movie for 2 hours. In the movie itself, it could be 2 weeks, it could be 25 years, you know. But nonetheless, over a 2-hour time frame for a movie or an hour-long time frame for a show, really more specifically 10 to 12 hours, because that's what we're seeing for a full season. In the instance of Minx, I think there were 8 episodes, and so you're looking at 4. It's basically a 4-hour movie that you're watching. But nonetheless, you're seeing and enjoying the process of relationship evolution within the situation. So if there's any amount of advice I can give you as I just kind of randomly drive around my tiny town here, that if you're looking out the window, there's not a whole lot to see. But if there's any advice I can give, if you're trying to write a TV series, look at the relationships first. Try to nail down the storylines from a relationship basis. Joyce and, I hate that I'm forgetting Jake Johnson's character. Hopefully we can put that up on the screen with exclamation points, duh, I'm a moron. But Joyce, alongside Jake Johnson's character, they have a relationship that evolves and changes. And it evolves and changes them. And so you're looking at that particular storyline. Maybe it's not necessarily a story, meaning the A story or B story or C story. But it's part of the A story. But you're looking at it from an emotional standpoint. How are these people changing and affecting themselves and each other by way of the situations they're in? And then seeing the long form process of that from beginning to the middle to the end, just for that relationship. And you do the same thing for all the other characters in your show. You can easily track all of that in Minx. And obviously it's easily, I can say easily because I'm just sitting there watching the show. I'm not writing it. It's a lot easier to be able to break all this down. But nonetheless, I hopefully that makes a little bit of sense for those writers out there. For you casual viewers who aren't trying to write and you just felt like watching this video because some moron's driving around in a 2021 Ford Bronco named Bozo, pay attention to that when you're watching shows. You know, pay attention to how you are, as an audience member, are reacting to the relationships, or at least pay attention to how you're reacting to the character changing. Walt in Breaking Bad really would not have become who he was without Jesse, without his wife, without all of the other characters. Yes, the situation brought that out of him, but his interactions with the other characters ultimately pushed him to break that much more bad. Oh God, I don't know if that makes sense. But anyway, Minx, I love Minx. It's just so much fun. I'm gonna, just for the heck of it, show you my experience acting alongside Ophelia.
Well, it's not Proust.
It's pronounced Proust.
Do people enjoy your company?
Not really. Oh, you're not suggesting that you publish the matriarchy, will you?
Oh, God, no. I mean, not in its current form. And don't get me wrong, it's good.
All right, everybody, that is Max Reacts, and thank you for watching. There's going to be a lot more. If you know what was written on my shirt, great, put it into the comments below. I'm going to put a scene in here that is, to me personally, one of the funniest scenes in cinematic history. It's also because I'm just kind of goofy, but I'll put that in there. It'll pretty much give it away in terms of what the movie is, but because it's just so much fun, I'm going to put it in there anyway. So thanks for watching, everybody. It was fun, and I will see you all soon.
Hand me that candle, will you? Put the candle back. All right? I think I have it figured out now. Take out the candle, and I'll block the bookcase with my body.
Now listen to me very carefully. Don't put the candle back. With all of your might, shove against the other side of the bookcase. Is that perfectly clear?
I think so.
Good girl.